Hi everyone, welcome and thank you very much for joining me today. We have around 9 viewers. Oh, that's fantastic. I wasn't expecting that much for my first ever live demonstration. So hopefully you guys can hear me. And there is a little bit of a lag. So if you ask a question on the chat, it may take me a couple of minutes to reply to you. Um, but yeah, like thank you very much for joining me, and I really hope you'll ask questions in the chat, and let's get this going. Um, First, I thought to start, I might show you guys some of my work and some of my urban sketching work, and um, tell you something about each of those paintings. So I usually use these little sketchbooks uh, to paint. So I have this little one, a tiny A5 sketchbook, which I usually take with me everywhere. And I paint at various places. I paint at restaurants, just outside in nature, in the streets. So it's really a nice way to bring memories back from a trip. Or when I recently traveled to Queensland, I took this with me, and maybe I'll show you some of those sketches. Um, so yeah, I think this is a sketch from Queensland. Like you can see, it's a very rough sketch from the Queensland Arts Gallery, and we have this sketch here. This was actually my first nighttime sketch. It was interesting painting at night. And another urban sketch, a street scene from Brisbane. And here we have a more nature scene, a boat on the river. And this was the hostel I stayed at, and then a beach I went to. So it's like a really nice way to capture your travels. So again, a different kind of a street scene, a little bit more detailed. You can see like both of these paintings. I did a lot of pen work from my black marker pen. So, and here, this was from a restaurant, and you can see it's like very messy. So it's a way of sort of reflecting what you see in that place. So I guess this restaurant was quite busy and bustling. So uh, my brush strokes and my pen lines sort of reflect that, as opposed to this other painting. I remember this one. I painted this very early in the morning. This was the Queensland University, some kind of a university, I think QUT, yeah, QUT campus. And yeah, it was really early in the morning. No one was there. It was very calm, and so are my brush strokes and my pen lines. So it's urban sketching is like sort of a reflection of what you feel about the place. I like to do these in person, like sort of at location, but today, of course, we can't do that. So we will be um, just looking at a photo and trying to convert that into painting. So recently, during this lockdown, I've started to paint in this bigger book. So those, I think I have some friends joining from other places as well, but those who are from St. Kilda may recognize these scenes. So we have Blessington Street near Lentils. You can see the 7-Eleven. And this was my first lockdown sketch. And then this is the ice cream place at the St. Kilda beach. I did some experiments with gouache in this as well as watercolor. And then this is again from the Esplanade. I think this is a number 22, the Esplanade. Like this building, I really love the look of this building. I painted this a couple of times, and I'm quite fond of this sketch actually. I think I just painted this last week. And here, the Hotel Esplanade. This actually was not one of my favorite sketches because I really messed up the perspective. So today we'll talk about how to get the perspective right as well. And this was an experiment painting which I did near the Elstonwick Park. It didn't go that well. As you can see, I overworked it. So this is another good lesson, because with watercolor, sometimes less is more. So we'll talk about these things when I attempt my painting today. Yeah, so that's it. And I have got this empty page on which I'm going to paint today. Thank you guys for all the nice compliments about my paintings. So lovely to hear. And I will also paste my link for the photograph I'm gonna paint, so that you guys can download it if you haven't done so already. But before we move on to the painting, I wanted to show you some of the artists who I am inspired by, because when I started developing this style of urban sketching, I really got inspired by so many artists. So I would like to show you guys some of these artists as well, so that you can check out their Instagrams and check out their art. So let's see. So first we have Pito Campos, a really nice Argentinian artist. I'm not sure whether you guys can see my screen. Let me see whether it's working. Okay, I think it's working now. All right. So yeah, Pito Campos is an Argentinian artist. I really like his loose style of doing urban sketches. I think Evan asked in the Facebook group how that it's quite difficult to see, like, paint detailed places. So like Pito Campos is like really good at bringing out those details, but without painting the details. So that's really interesting how he brings out the essence of a place with like simple brush strokes, really simple shapes. I'm really inspired by him. I've watched several of his demonstrations, painted along, and he's a really great artist. And then we have Marco Bucci. Marco Bucci is a fantastic artist. He paints in watercolor as well as digitally with Photoshop, but he does a lot of urban sketching as he travels, and I really love to see his work. And I think this is a painting he has done in Munich, and he does this like standing on a street holding his watercolor book and the palette, everything in one hand, but comes up with these marvelous sketches. I really like his use of color. Like, as you can see, like he doesn't use the actual colors he sees in there, but he uses his own color combinations. So that's really cool. Oh, okay. So let me see what's going on. Okay. I think now you can see Marco Bucci. So I think there are some problems with my experimental setup. I This is the first time I'm doing a live, so some things may not work perfectly, but I'll try to get a handle on them as we go along. Yeah, so this is the Marco Bucci painting. He's done it in Munich, and it's so fantastic how when you look at the painting, you can see it's just a mixture of different shapes and brush strokes, and it really brings out the vibe of a place. So I really like his style, and also his use of color. As you can see, like his rooftops are lime green. Like you can't have rooftops like that in real life, but it works perfectly in this picture. So I really like his work. And then the next artist I wanted to show you is Alex Hilpertz. He's an American artist living in France, and he uses pen strokes quite a lot, as you can see. The uh, the black marker pen, he uses it quite a lot, and he's one who inspired me to use black marker pens, because sometimes it can really bring out essential details in a painting. And he uses these like red colored umbrellas or awnings quite a lot in his paintings. Like most of his paintings will have a red awning. That is a distinct style. I find that quite interesting as well. So check out his work as well. And then I have like two really great master artists. They both of these live in Melbourne actually. So maybe you can, when you look at this painting, you can see that it's sort of a Melbourne scene. So this is Joseph Zbukvich. I think, yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it, Joseph Zbukvich. He is based in Melbourne, and you can see, like, if you zoom out this, I'm not sure whether I can zoom out, so sorry, I can only zoom in apparently. So if you zoom out, maybe you can look at it from a distance, and it looks very realistic, but when you zoom in, you can see how he's used very simple brush strokes to bring out these details. It's really like lively style of painting. So it's a little bit different from what I personally try to achieve, but it's also really inspiring. Something I really like is his use of these power lines. Like most of his paintings have these power lines, and I think that really adds to the painting. And then the last one is Alvaro Castagne. He's also a Melbourne-based artist. Really wonderful work, but like you can see, it's like really sort of abstract, but still detailed. And I really like how fluid his work is. So check out these people on Instagram to get inspired. So I think that's all I have for the inspirations, and then we can maybe we can get on to our painting now. All right. So this is the scene we'll be painting today, and most of you will recognize this as, I think, George Hotel on Fitzroy Street. So I thought it's really good to paint something from our own neighborhood. And maybe after this situation in St. Kilda loses down a little bit, you guys can go and paint this in person. But before we go into that, I might show my setup sort of, because lots of you had questions about the material I'm going to use. So I'm going to be using my trusty sketchbook today. It's a cold press paper, 300 GSM. You need a little bit thick paper when you're doing watercolor. So 200 to 300 GSM like is a good thickness to go with when you're doing watercolor. And I'm gonna use my little like travel watercolor set today. So these are watercolor in pans. I usually wet them a few minutes before I use them. So let me go ahead and do that. So I have my water brush here. This is what I usually use when I'm painting outside. So I'm just gonna put some water in here in each of these pans to wet them up before I use them. So all right, that's done. And I have water container here. Water container and my brushes are here. I have them in this container because I don't want the water to slip all over my computer. So my water container and my brushes. So these are like a lot of brushes. I'm probably not gonna use all of them. Like most probably I'll use 2 or 3 brushes today. If I'm painting outside, I'll use only this water brush, just one. So you don't need many brushes. I personally think brushes are the least important thing in watercolor. The paints are like, and the paper, they are much more important. And I have a very generic pencil. If you can see, okay, there you go. You can see that it's from a hotel, a pencil I nicked from a hotel while I was traveling. So it's not the best quality pencil. So you can use any pencil. I prefer a lighter pencil, but this honestly doesn't like even say anything whether it's HB or anything. So I like using this pencil. And then I have a black marker and a white Posca marker. So this is like white acrylic paint. I use these sometimes in my paintings. And I recently added this white gouache into my outdoor sketching set. Sometimes I use it, most probably I wouldn't use it today, but let's see. If I want to give some highlights somewhere, I might end up using this. All right, so one final thing, masking tape. I saw there were like some confusion about masking tape on the Facebook group today. So this I just got from the supermarket. This was the only one available and it works perfectly for me. And yeah, it's just regular masking tape. It helps to get a nice clean edge to your paintings. But you can see like I don't worry about that too much when I'm like sketching in my little book. I just go right to the edge of the page. All right, so let's put down the masking tape on the paper and we can get started. Are you guys ready? Right. Do you have any questions about uh, the materials or anything? Nice. Already, that makes me happy. It's like the next part is actually the most interesting part, where we analyze our subject and plan our painting. So I usually do that all in my head, but I will try to sort of explain what goes inside my head. Hopefully I won't confuse you with all those details, but I'm sure that would be useful. All right. So I'm gonna go back to my photo, and what I'm gonna do this time is I'm going to talk about this photo we have, our subject. So I saw a question or a concern by Evan this morning on the Facebook group, because this is a white building, and how do you paint white? And there's so much detail. How do we handle that? So I thought I should answer this question in the demonstration, because when we go out there and try to paint something, it's quite overwhelming sometimes, because there's so much detail, and how do we represent all this in our picture? So I am going to steal a tip from one of my favorite artists, Marco Bucci, and what he says is that you can divide your painting into big shapes first. So I'm going to say that this is one of my biggest shapes in the painting, and then I have this shape on the side, and then I have the sky here, and I have the road here. So basically we have 4 big shapes to handle, and inside these big shapes you can find even more shapes. So I think something I would like to recognize is that in this building we have one side of the building which is in the sunlight, and the other side of the building which is in the shade. So that we can represent in our watercolor. And then we have this part obscured by the tree and the shadow of the tree. So like you can see that we are like slowly breaking down a complex scene into more manageable parts. And then like we can go into the next level of shapes, like medium shapes. I would say like we can identify some shadows here and some shadows here, like under each of these balconies, and maybe this tree. Maybe we can further divide this tree and its shadow into 2 shapes. And maybe there's a little, like, I don't know, something poking out from here. And this part, these are like medium sized shapes. And I don't know like what's here in this background, but we can sort of represent that as one shape. And after doing all those things, we are left with the tiny shapes, which are the details we are concerned about. The thing about details is we don't need to show everything. For example, we have a lot of windows here. I can see these windows. If we just show a couple of them, then people will sort of realize that there are windows, and people are very good at recognizing patterns. So uh, our eyes are very good at recognizing patterns, so we don't have to worry about these kind of details, and we don't have to worry about them too much, but it's nice to show these details. And we have like some little umbrellas. I think I'm gonna include them, and some people here, and maybe these cars, couple of cars. We don't have to be like very truthful to what we see, like just to represent that there's some cars or vehicles, and maybe you can put some more people around to make it more lively, and these little details on the road which can add to our scene. So this is how we can break down this scene and not be very much intimidated by it, because after all, we are doing the painting and we can do whatever we want with the painting. We're just going to get the rough idea from our subject. All right, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is like we can sort of identify the perspective of this painting. So we have to be a little bit careful about that. Otherwise, you'll end up with a painting like my painting of the Hotel Esplanade. It's not too bad, like even if you mess up the perspective, but it's nice to get it right. So you can see that these lines go towards some vanishing point towards the left side. And as we go, you can see that the angle changes. So you can identify the same on this side as well. So I think getting these angles properly in our drawing is important to give it a realistic feel. So I think that's what we need to worry about perspective-wise. I think this building on the right-hand side should be all right, even if we don't worry too much about it. So yeah, I think that's what I have to tell about perspective. So okay, we can now jump in and do the painting. All right, let's go and do it. Okay, I'm going to do a rough drawing. So the drawing doesn't need to be like really perfect. I'm wondering whether you can see my pencil lines. I'll wait a little bit until this appears on the YouTube, so that you can let me know whether my pencil lines are visible. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Nadine. All right. So you can see I'm just worried about getting my main shape ready. I'm not worried about anything else. Just as long as my main shape is there, I'm not worrying about other things. I'm not even like worried about how many floors this building has, because I don't really care about the number of floors. I think it has like 3 or 4, but I'm just gonna do my own thing. That's a detail which I don't worry too much about. this tree here. In the shadow of the tree. I think I'm gonna this a bit longer because I'm not very much interested in that space between the buildings. I actually don't like that space. So I'm not gonna worry about it. As you can see, like I'm not using an eraser because we are gonna paint above this. So that's also fine. So here we go. We have our building ready now. I'm just gonna put an indication on this like tower. Like this was something which actually intimidated me because I'm not very good at these curved fronts for of the buildings. I really like it when it's a box-shaped building because it's very much easier. So, but nothing to do about it now because I've already selected this picture and I think it's gonna be okay. I'm leaving quite a lot of the paper for the sky. And this is my sketch. I think what I can do is I can lower my camera so that you can see it better. All right. You guys don't need to see my face. My face is covered by the camera now, but I think this would be better. All right. What am I gonna do now? Okay, I think I'll just do a wash of the sky first. So I'm just gonna be adding some blues to the sky. So I'm just wetting the paper because I want the sky to be quite random. So, and I'm not very much worried about going around the lines. I'm just enjoying the process. And I think you can see my palette as well. It's like very, very dirty, which is also fine. I'm just going like dabbing the sky, creating that cloudy look, because although you can see that in this photograph, the sky is like a simple solid shape of blue, but that's not interesting, is it? So I just want to go and put something which may look more interesting. So that's going to dry much lighter than what we have. So if it's too light, we can come back and do something about it. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify the differences on each side of the building. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix color, like this is like a neutral like gray color. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it to create a cool color, which is going to indicate that this part is in shade. So blue, like most of the blues are like cool colors, so we can use it to indicate shadow or the lack of light. So all right, let's go and see where we can put this color. I need it to be more darker. So I think we can put this color on this side of the building. Please let me know in the chat if you guys find this too fast or too slow. If you have any questions with the the painting I'm doing. All right, now I have that part in the shadow, and now I want to have the part in the light. So one option here is to leave that to be white. The other option is to put some warm color. Like maybe like this is not exactly white. It could be like very like light coating of yellow maybe. So let's see, it might go in the painting, it might not. But let's go and put a very light wash of I'm mixing this like very light orange, almost like salmon color. Just gonna see how that works. I think if anything it will make it look like it's a sunset or a sunrise. I don't know. Oh, there we go. I'm putting that down. I think like when I make these decisions inside my mind, it's much less stressful. But when I'm actually trying to talk about these painting decisions, it's like, ooh, is this a good decision or not? I'm worrying a bit too much about it. But there you go. I'll put that down. Thanks, Nadine. Like if you find this a bit too fast, I can slow down because I can wait until my paintings like my watercolor coats dry. So yeah, I'll go a little bit slower. All right, I think now I'm thinking of like my plan for the other sections of the painting. I think I'm just going to mix something quite random. As you can see, I'm mixing it now in my palette. Just gonna put this like randomness here in this middle part. We don't care what color it is, just a washed out it just needs to be washed out, like just be blurred so that it's not in focus. There you go, dealt with that part which could otherwise be stressful if you try to stay true to the painting. And now I'm just gonna use probably the similar mix, but a little bit more yellow on the other building, because I can see that it's actually a yellow colored building. So just let me put this. Oh, that was too yellow. Right, there you go. That was also done. I have an interesting question here. Jenny is asking, how did you learn about shadow lines? I find working them out intimidating. Um, so there's like I learned about shadow lines mostly from different YouTubers, but what I learned was there's these two things called cast shadow and form shadow. Cast shadow is when there is something putting a shadow. So for example, like if I hold my hand like this, okay, I think it's not really. Oh, there's like too much light here. I can't even show a shadow. So that's all right. If you have an object casting a shadow onto something else, that's a cast shadow. And then there's a form shadow, which is a shadow because okay, maybe what I can do is I can show it on my painting itself. So as you can see, because this big building is here, this part is in shadow, and our light comes from this side. So this part of the painting is blocked, like that's like a cast shadow. But you can see like the tricky part is this thing. Okay, I'm gonna have a new page. The tricky part is like this middle column or the tower or something. So there you can find a form shadow because of this cylindrical shape. There's no hard shadow. It's like this part is entirely in light, this part is entirely in shadow, but here we have like sort of half shadow half light situation. So that is a little bit hard to implement. So what I did on my painting is, if you can see, I dropped my pencil. Oops. If you can see, I softened this edge here between the shadow and the light part to try to achieve that. Hopefully that sort of answers your question, Jenny. All right, I think you guys might have caught up with me now, so I'm gonna go and check out this tree here. So something I learned is that trees are actually not green. Like there's some green to it, but it's not like an entirely bright green. So we can see that it's in shadow. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix a very dark mixture. Have some blues in it because it's shadowy. And I'm just gonna put it here. And then I'm going to go back with my yellow and put some yellowness. And I need to soften down my yellowness too. So just gonna go and put some yellow into this blue mixture to sort of indicate that there is kind of a green tint to this tree. Let's see whether it works out. I think at the end of the painting we'll be able to judge that. And now I'm gonna make a really dark mixture for this shadow here. And now maybe the most boring part of this painting. the road. So I want to make it sort of at the same darkness level as the side of the building. So let's see if this works. I think this works. Yeah. A different color, but same kind of darkness. All right. So there you go. We have a road as well. So I'm not going to worry about this road for a while. Right. So now like we have our big shapes done. So if one is still here, like maybe it's not as intimidating now, right? Like we got those big shapes done, and we didn't have to worry too much about it. And it's a nice way to I like to call it attack. It's a nice way of attacking the painting or attacking the scene little by little. So now I'm going to go and deal with the medium-sized shapes here. So this face of the building, which is again in shadow, I'm going to put a shadow here. Just that, done. I'm going to increase the shadow on this part as well, and we're going to try to put some salmon color there to show that it's getting a little bit of a sun. And I think my other medium shapes were these shadows under the balcony or the roof thing. So I'm just gonna add this. Okay, now I see that I did something which is not in the painting, not in the photograph, but that's fine. As I mentioned earlier, like this, the photograph is separate to my painting. My painting is mine. I have full autonomy over what I'm doing, as you guys do. Like, you guys don't have to do everything I do because it's your painting. Let's see that there's some similar shadows here in the other building as well. I'm gonna put some. And I'm gonna put this other tree as well. So just a bit of blue, a bit of yellow, a bit of this brown. I'm trying to make a mixture for this other tree. See, it's like something which is always in one of my like any of my St. Kilda paintings is like these palm trees, because they're everywhere in St. Kilda. So like if this was any other scene, I might have just ignored this tree, but I want to sort of have this tree do a little cameo in our painting. So there it goes. As you can see, like my strokes are quite random. It's not like entirely faithful to the subject. All right. Well, that's most of those tiny shapes done, but sorry, medium shapes. They are tiny, but still like medium level when it comes to our painting. So, what I'm not very much happy about is like this tree on the left hand side. I want to make it darker because when you have like how sometimes we like outline things to make it more interesting. So just like that, if we outline our painting with the dark objects on either side, it looks more prominent. So I'm going to make the tree much darker. Might just ruin the painting, or it might be a really good decision. Who knows? Let's go and put some darks here. Alright, I think I'm much happier with that. You can see that it gives the idea of a tree, like, and idea of the tree's shadows. So I'm really happy about that. And now the next thing I want to do is that try to identify more like medium-sized things I can highlight in this photo. So maybe I'm going to like this area, which is the ground level of the shade side, and make it a bit more darker, because the ground level receives much less light, so that could be shown in our photo here. Okay, that's it. Little is what was that again? Less is more with watercolor, so I think that is enough for this lower level. And I can go and start adding like other like more detailed stuff. Okay, but I'm adding just as I said, less is more. I decided to add a little bit more to our shadows here. And I just saw that top part is sort of an extended roof, so there's more shadow covering this area. Alright, I think that's enough. Alright, I think now I can actually move on to do the little details. So I'm going to replace this brush with a smaller brush. See, I got like these little brushes. I'll show you all of it. I got this set of brushes from IKEA for $5. Like all of these for $5, not $5 each, right? All of this for $5. It was from the kids section, but I feel like they're good brushes, so I haven't used them yet. let's use them today to see whether they work well. Because I wanted to buy a round tipped brush, but I don't want to buy animal hair brushes, so I went to look at synthetic brushes, and they're like $80 each, and I don't want to spend that much on a brush, so I decided to try these IKEA ones. So how's everyone going with the painting. Do you need me to slow down a little bit and give a bit of a break to catch up before continuing? Or should I continue? I think I can actually ask a poll about this. Okay. All right. So no is winning, so that's okay. I'm going to assume that it's all right. So let's go and add the details. And if you're worried about like not being able to catch up, like I will be uploading this as a video, and I will post the link so that you can follow up later. Right, I'm creating this like really dark mixture here, as you can see. So what I'm going to attack now, if I really like this word attack, so watercolor, so that's actually what we're doing, is we are going to attack these windows. So you can see that there is I can see that there's a little like curvature here. So I'm going to show that a little bit. There's less curvature here. So you can see that I'm not like exactly giving away what it is, because people who look at your paintings, they need a job to do too, right? Like you have to leave some details for them to interpret by themselves. So at the ground level, there's like more deeper windows. Maybe they're like doors. I don't like really care too much what they are. Just for me, like they're tiny details. And there's like windows. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not gonna do all the windows. I'm just gonna let my viewers decide that there's more windows here. Maybe on the light side, I have to be a bit more careful with the definition of the windows. I think I put too much windows, but you know what, that's also fine. I'm going to go here and it's like really thin windows, just lines. This one like a bit more tip it here on this top side, and a bit more detail here. And I decided I'm gonna add this like railing like thing. It's like nice to sort of like give a definition to the building through these details as well. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna add a little rain like thing, and I'm gonna show this flagpole antenna or whatever. right, I think. Yeah, I'm sort of happy with the amount of details here. Now I'm going to go to the other building because that is also in our painting, so we have to give some details to that too. But actually what I like to do with this one, because it's not our focal point, I'm going to come up with a clean brush and sort of blot that out. Because it's not the focal point, I don't want it to have very like strong edges. I think I've decided to now go and add more darkness to the other tree as well. The tree on the left hand side. What I'm referring as darkness is the value of the color. And I think that part of the building, it's actually quite dark, this underside of the building. So I'm gonna make it dark. And you can see there's some flowers or something here which adds to that darkness. So I'm gonna do now. I'm adding like strong yellow thing here because I think it's nice and there's some bright spots in the middle of that darkness. Alright, I'm actually quite happy with these two buildings now. And now we are going into like even smaller details. So what would they be like when we look at this? The smaller details would be the people, those little umbrellas, and the cars. Yeah, I haven't fully decided on whether I'm going to add cars or not yet. Let's add the umbrellas. They look fun. I'm going to go with red because it's nice to give this a little pop of color. And that's actually true to our scene as well. So I'm just adding the hint of this. And I know that umbrellas will have a dark side. So dark to the umbrella, and maybe I'll go with my white and add some white to the light side. Really tiny details, but it may help to read the painting better. All right. And the people. All right. I think in my last watercolor tutorial at the Luna's Cafe, we talked about drawing those like little people. So I'm just gonna add some of these people here. Just a shape of a person. Maybe there's some on the dark side as well. Like, I want these people to be like quite in the quite blended into the background. You don't really know whether they are people or whether there are any other detail. Just like tiny people. Giving them heads now, like a little dot. I didn't want to give them color because I thought that would be too much detail. So there you go. That's done. And Now we are at an interesting place of our painting. We have a lot of like horizontal detail, but we don't have vertical detail. We have this flagpole here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and add those like poles which are there in the photograph. So you can see that there's two maybe those are tram lines and like two poles on right next to the yellow building, which I'm going to add. I have to be careful with it because it needs to be just one line. So okay, wish me luck. There you go. Whoa. Okay, that's one pole. And the next one. Whoa. Okay, there you go. And see these like poles which go into this like side street. I think that's interesting because I can draw some power lines later. Okay, there you go. And see one on this side, the left side of the main building. And it actually has these like lights which are going off it. And then I think the other interesting thing to add would be these traffic lights. Gonna add a couple of things. I think I'm going to go and add the red lights later, because red lights are a very good indication to show that these are red lights. These are traffic lights. So all right, I'm going to give it a little bit of time to dry, and I need to think about what I'm going to do with my road. Quite happy with how it is. It's like not very uniform, going well, but I think I'm going to try and add those white lines, the street lines, just an indication, right? Okay, my white is not much visible against this, but let's see. If it's not visible, I'll come back with my white pen to do that. But yeah, I'm not going to be bothered with that too much. Now I'm going to draw those power lines. Exciting. This also needs to be just one line because otherwise, like, I'll mess up the whole painting. So just again, wish me luck. Here you go. I'm not exactly happy with it, but you have to do. Most of these lines like come in like pairs. Yeah, it's odd to see just one power line by itself. I'm gonna do this like big line from here to here. That's actually there in the photo. Okay, that's it. Now I'm happy with it or I'm not happy with it. Nothing to do now. It's done. All right, what's next? I think I can go and add those red lights now. I'm getting very like not watery, thick mixture of the red, and just gonna put a dot. I don't even know which ones are my traffic lights. Right, 3 of those they are done. All right. Now this is where like I'm wondering if I need to do something else. Or is it all right? So I'm just gonna give a bit of definition to some of these things, and also something that you can do is you can actually give a splatter to the painting. Bit of color, soft color. There you go. It's like little specks add to the painting. It's like free detail you get. So I like to do that. And now I'm going to do like something I learned recently to like just put like random dots here and there of like different colors. Just like makes it interesting, like gives your eye something to search for. So just gonna go and do that. Some blues here. Let's see, like there's actually some blues here, so why not? You had to be like very like you had to do this very sparingly because you don't want too much of that. Am I happy with this middle area? Yeah, probably. All right. I think I'm done with the painting, and I think I'm quite happy with it actually. I was quite worried that like a live painting can go quite bad. What do I do? What do I do if it goes bad? But luckily, I think I did it. So the last part of any painting is putting a signature on it and the date. So here we go with the water mixture to sign my painting. And today is the 21st. All right. Now the most exciting part. It is taking the tape off. So yeah, this is something I learned. Like when you take off your tape, maintain a 45-degree angle so that it doesn't tear off your page. Sun's snatched onto my paper, so I'm going to try and do it from the other side. Like once in a while, like the tape will tear your paper, but that's fine. So there you go, painting done. That is my painting of the George Hotel on Fitzroy Street, St. Kilda.